here on Instagram as well, and then I'll just kind of direct everybody to here. So hold on one second. South side. So live. All right. Let me so the first thing I want to say, man, off the top, man. So the first time I heard Rene get down was at a Santana Soul party at Danny Gascon's house. And this was like a backyard boogie. It was just like a lot of good spinners were there. Mariah was there. Elvia was there. Waxy Gordon. There was just all kinds of people. Sick Jackin was there. So it was like a really, yeah, for me, it was like a whole, like, man, like I felt like I was at like a celebrity party, you know? So that was like really cool. And I remember Santana introducing me, and he goes, "Hey, man, this guy Rene right here, man, he's got some fire in that box, man. Like, you got to meet this guy." So I was like, I had no idea who you were. I just seen like the collar shirt, you know, and you came on last.
I was in a Pendleton.
Yeah, and I was like, dude. And the whole time, man, I was just super impressed because a lot of the music that you were playing, I had never heard before. And I remember just walking out of that party just like with a big smile on my face, like, man, I just heard some shit right now. And Rene definitely brought it. So definitely want to welcome you to the show here. And thank you for doing this.
I appreciate it. I don't know, but I'm always out to lend out my ear. You know, I have a different ear. Everybody has a different ear on type of music genres we listen to. And I specifically, like I told you, I like ballads. I like tear wrenchers. And my ears are really good at picking a good one, whether it has lyrics, whether it has harmony, whether it has a certain instrument. It always plays a part of the song. And every song that I own, like I said, I don't collect for value. I collect for sound value, not money values, you know?
Yeah.
And
yeah, man. And and I know some of the records that you were playing, it had to be a lot because I remember everyone just faces like, I can't believe it. This guy has this record, you know? So we'll get into that. I wanted to kind of start off just like where you grew up, like what neighborhood or area did you grow up at?
I grew up in South Central LA, 38th Street neighborhood. All my brothers are from 38. And I spent most of my time away from the hood. I leave at 6:30 in the morning, go to school. I didn't get back till sometimes 9, 10 o'clock at night. I went after school stuff, and I used to spend a lot of time at my friend Frank Del Rio's house in Huntington Park. And Frank Del Rio is a real prominent old DJ. He was a pretty much state-of-the-art dude, which now he was considered one of the top best DJs in the whole industry. He cut records for Trenier. He did a lot of records. He actually did a lot of records for Johnny Chingas and stuff. And I thank him a lot for, my knowledge in the disco scene and records. And then that's one aspect of my record collecting. But what took me back even further than that was my brothers. When they were growing up, they were cholos in their hood. They had lowriders. They had parties in front of the house. And they had girls come over and, party in front of the house. And we had a 2-story pad. And I'd be upstairs looking out my brother's windows. Hey, I hear the music, out there drinking, laughing. And it was one of those dim lit streets out down in the middle of South Central LA where there was only one street light right in the middle. We lived pretty much right in the middle of the street where the street lamp was. I could barely see the silhouettes of my brothers and stuff. And then to get their attention, I get my brother's 45s. He had in his room, and I toss them over like frisbees. Then my brother's friends, hey, little brother's up to throw your records. Oscar, hey, go tell him something.
Wow.
Now he tells me, hey, you want me to throw your records? I say, hey, some of those are still yours, so don't even mess with them.
Wow. So you weren't into the gang stuff. Were you into like sports or things like that, or just strictly music, DJ?
Well, I played football. I played football. I ran track in high school. I was in varsity football, varsity track.
Okay.
And like I said, I didn't like being around that hood. I always got into trouble coming home. I used to take the 92 watts, which basically took you through the projects called I forgot the name of the damn projects, the Pueblos. And there was nothing but African Americans that live there. And I went to school with some of them. And junior high, I went through there. I used to go to Gage Junior High, which is also Huntington Park.
Okay.
And I got into it with the people there sometimes. But then after a while, they know you're down for your shit. They won't mess with you. Like, hey, they little mixers down. You don't need to mess with them.
Yeah.
And
How
yeah,
many?
huh?
I was gonna say, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
We're five brothers. I'm the youngest of five. Two that have passed away. My brother Fernando, which was the last president of the Duke's Car Club, and my oldest brother Julio, which was another founder of the Duke's Car Club, along with my brother Asu, which is still, he's still here with us. And I know you heard a story from Mike Noriega about how he met Julio when he started getting into the record scene. My brother was been in the record scene since probably the '60s, and
Wow.
late '50s. He was into the doo-wop scene, and that's how Mike learned about records through him, and a bunch of other guys. But Julio was a big influence on Mike, and he was a
Yeah.
big influence in my family. Where,
Wow.
like I said, my brother started the Dukes, and it was a small club. It was basically all the dudes from the neighborhood. That was the Dukes Car Club back in the '60s and '70s. So my brothers would drink. At one point, my mom bought a grocery store, and she gave it to my brother Julio to run. And Julio ran the store. And on Sundays, that would be the hangout for the club. We had the club meeting, and everybody's drinking. My brother would bring out a little record player, and we started playing records. And he didn't want to scratch his records. He said, "Hey, Rene, you know what I want to hear? Put some records on." So that's how I learned my doo-wop.
Wow.
And flipping records, probably about 10, 11, 12 years old.
Wow. I want to go back to
I
Julio
still, I still have
because
some of the records.
yeah, and I want to go back to Julio because he was brought to my attention through Mike, and Mike had brought him up that he would, be cruising in his car, he'd pull up and he had some, some doo-wop playing, and he would catch his attention, and he would say like, "Man, who is that?" And he would be like, "Oh, it's like the condoms on like the Go Fuck Yourself
Trojan.
label or some shit."
Yeah.
And he would go to the record store and he'd be like, "Hey, I'm looking for the condoms on the, Go Fuck Yourself records." And the guy would look at him like, "Hey, this guy's like, he's fucking with you," you know what I mean? But he had all the records, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
So he must have been like
And it's
a
funny because back in
comedian,
the
man.
days, all my brothers had record players. My brothers have record players in all their cars. All my brothers,
Yeah,
they have record players in their cars, all 45 players.
that's awesome. And then as far as the Dukes, like you can't just get it like that. That car club is like a big deal, right? You can't just walk into that car club. Like you have to have like I heard you have to have like a really top of the line car. You can't just go in that club.
Well, back in the days, the fundamentals of getting into the club were a lot different than what they are now. Like basically now, me and my brothers, we're kind of straight away from the club. It's in other people's hands, but the founding of the club will always come back to the Ruelas family. The Ruelas brothers. We started that club. Oscar, Julio, Fernando, Ernie. They all started that club back in the day. And where it's at now is where it's at. But like I said, at one point it branched out all over the world, which they do have chapters all over the world now. And now you hear the name Duke's Car Club, the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, the Ruelas brothers, or vice versa. You hear the Ruelas brothers, you hear the Duke's Car Club. So it's basically one of the same. And I grew up in it. I was brought up in it, and I seen cars. And to be a member in the car club before, we would have to go through. My brothers started the club. They picked who they wanted in the club, and basically it started with all the guys from the neighborhood, 38th Street. You had Manuel Navarro, this Campelon from 38. You had Little Bobby. You had Woody, which was one of the founders of the club. Woody from 38th Street, rest in peace. Weasel, rest in peace. A lot of these guys were all from 38th Street, and Edward Soler was another one of my brother's friends. He went to the service with, grew up with, and lived a couple blocks from us. Little Willie G from the Midnighters was also from there. He's also my brother's compadre, which we'll get into that later. And that's how it started. And then there was a thing that you couldn't have a car and primer back then. It had to be an old car. It had to be, I guess, 54 and down, like 35, 36, 37, 39 Chevys, but it couldn't be no newer than a 54.
Okay.
Those were
Wow.
the fundamentals to get into the club back in the days. That was back in the late 60s and 70s. Now it's derived to different things now. Whereas I hear they have hot rods and custom cars and stuff, which is good. It's all good. But those were the fundamentals of a club back in the day. And where it started was here with my family back in 38th Street, South Central LA.
Damn, that's awesome. Yeah, man, the Dukes is just a big name, and I remember just my family's all into the cars, and that's one of like the it has to be one of the top clubs out there for sure. Just in the biz. I do want to let everybody know that the Instagram here. I'm just going live so you guys can hear like what I'm saying. I'm hearing that you can't hear Rene. Just go to our YouTube channel. We have a live stream there. We also have on our MixCloud as well. There's a live stream. You can actually see both of us on there. Hear Rene really good. So again, this is just for the Instagram, and just so you know that we're on right now. Let me pull this back up. In the household, in your household, were your parents playing a lot of this doo-wop and things like that, or not really?
Well, my mother separated from my father back in the early 60s, and we were pretty much all brought up by my mom. And like I said, I had five parents. I had my four brothers and my mom. When I was growing up, man, I stood up. I got it royally 5 times. And then I learned to be the fastest guy in the house. And yeah, I used to run from my brother, something else, man. But it was all part of growing up. And I grew up in a great household, a loving family where my mom taught us to love each other and be good people, and that's what we were brought up. And then growing up, we grew up poor. Yeah, we used to eat beans every now and then. We always didn't have meat and cheese and everything on the table. And my mom hustled, to raise us, and my brothers, they all learned how to, they earned good livings, they learned good trades. Whereas I picked up a lot of my wrenching skills and all that from them. We're all mechanics. We're all mechanics. All five of us want to be mechanics.
Wow.
And it's the mechanics took me where I'm at now in my life. I went from being a longshore mechanic for 20 years, and now I do other stuff down on the waterfront.
Wow.
Which pays about the same, and I work a little less.
Awesome. I do want to talk about you doing the clubs, man. This is always really the good times. You know what I mean? Like I want to bring that back. So you mentioned to me that you spun disco and DJ'd some clubs. Can you talk about some of those experiences and how maybe that got started?
The one I really remember real vividly was right before Frank Del Rio passed away. Me and Frank spent maybe about 2 months weekends. I used to pick him up. I used to drop him off at my house, and when I lived in Buena Park, and he tells me, "Hey, dog, he actually had an amputated leg, and he had a real bad case of diabetes, and he wanted to play records again, but he couldn't hold a 12-inch record very well. So I came up with an idea. Look, hey, Frank, look, I got these two Pioneer CD players, and I can record one record onto a CD, and you could grab it just like a record. I'll just write the name of the song on it and all this. And so, long story short, we spent 2 months recording all these records, right, and put them on CD. I still have them in one of my files somewhere. They're all in there, and I recorded them because we were going to throw a big birthday party for him at Circus. So he says, "Man, I'm ready." He says, "We got all the music, we got everything recorded at the speed I like it at, and I can work the turntables. I can work the CD players." So so we're all ready. So the weekend's here. He's all dressed up. He gets there. I get there. The place is packed, and I'm like, "Wow, Frank, you're gonna have a good time." He looks at me. I seen a weird look in his face, like, "Holmes, I can't do this." And I go, "Man, Frank, we spent all this time, this party's for you. You got to do this party, man." And he goes, "Oh, I'm ready for this, dog." He says, "Why don't you do it for me?" And I go, "Me, for all these people, mix all this stuff?" I said, "Oh, man." Well, I knew the music. He just like he knew it, So I said, "Oh, man," I had no choice. I said, there you go, I did it. And I'm like, at the end of the party, I'm like, "Man, I don't know what I played. I don't know how the mixes came out." And I was like, I wasn't ready for it because it wasn't my party. It was Frank's birthday party. And he tells me,
basically, really quick, he just had stage fright. You guys put all that work in. He just had stage fright when he seen the big crowd.
Yeah, everybody was there for Frank. It was his birthday. He was going to DJ. He hasn't DJed in years. And I have to go take the stage. I'm like, oh, man. It was like, then they pulling my pants down in front of everybody. I'm like, oh, man, check this out, it really hit me by surprise. And Frank was, he was real happy with the outcome. I wasn't because I didn't want to be put into that situation. And
Yeah.
Frank he was all happy. Oh man, gracias, you did my party. Everything came out perfect. Your mixes were right on, and you played the right records. Everything they played at Circus back in the days, you played it. Well, like I said, if you didn't live it, you don't know it. I went to the clubs. I knew exactly what they were going to play. I knew what mixes they were going to play, and I knew what get people to dance back in the day. And now, that's why I don't play a lot of dance music. I know my disco, I'll play it, but I'm not into the disco scene no more. And the crowd I kind of cater to, the people that listen to our music, really isn't into disco. They're more into like, what we listen to, soul, soul. And I got disco funk I play. I've got funk I play, and I learned this through the ages, and I got a big collection of all that. And I really started getting into it when my brother Julio passed away. He left me the records. He left me his doo-wop. That got me really embedded because he told me right before he passed away, go, hey, here, take all these records, clean them. I want them clean because when I get out of here, I want to play all my records. So I said, all right, cool. So I wind up having these records. He passes away,
Man.
and what do I do with them? I'm like, they're mine now, I guess. I would say they're mine. So I got stuck there. Pretty much, I got stuck in that old doo-wop soul scene. But I said, I'll do it for Julio. I'll spin his records with pride anytime, And he's always got records in that are cut above everybody else's. He's got a collection of records. Oh man, it's pretty nice. It's a very nice collection. And I add to it, and he had in the sleeves records he wanted to upgrade. This one pops. I need a new one, so it's cracked. And I kept the promise. When I found one, you can ask Mike. I had no problem spending what it took to buy that record just to get that collection back to where my brother wanted it.
Wow.
And then I took off. I still have my brother's records, the '70s records he had. Uh, he had his own '70s taste, which I got all his old stuff in another box, and I just started adding to it. Just getting into the old soul scene and mixing it with the doo-wop. So, like I said, I shoot up on both arms. I had a doo-wop, hype, and I had a soul hype. I get high on both sides. I had a big
Man.
habit of both records, and that's hard to do.
Yeah, no, I mean the collection is crazy, and I can only imagine. I mean, how many records do you think he left you by, like, if you just know off the top?
I got about almost 3,000 records, all
From
doo-wop.
him, from just
My
him?
brother's records. Yeah, just my brother's records.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. Wow. Yeah, so and then also so you were playing clubs, you're doing like disco clubs, and you're are you just kind of like
We did
you had
backyard
like all
parties.
the equipment and speakers and all that. Let's talk about that because that has changed, right? Like right now, like I DJ, but I use like a MIDI controller. I use turntables as well, but the MIDI controller is just really convenient for me to just go and set up shop and play. So I use a MIDI controller. But talk about some of like the labor, man, of doing a gig and lugging the records and the amps and the speakers and all the lights.
Man, the amps alone, each one amp would weigh about 45, 50 pounds. We used to carry maybe four of them. Sometimes we put them in a rack, and that rack weighed 300 pounds by itself. And then, like I said, we carried those big those woofers and tops and highs and all that. That's each one's about 60, 70 pounds each. Not to mention each crate of records. We carried like sometimes 12 crates of records. Not using all 12 of them, but we knew what was in each crate, and we knew, hey, we'll get the people going. We slap this on or play that, and sometimes we had doubles of each records, and it was a tough job. Where now people go in there with a pair of speakers and two small little CD players and a laptop and three chords, and they're on. And I still DJ. Like I said, I got a pair of EVs I use now. I use a lot of JBL stuff, which I kind of sold recently some stuff, and I still carry. I got about three coffins of nice turntables, either they're CDJ 1000 Pioneers, or I use my gold techniques or my silver techniques, and I still got equipment, but I don't lug the stuff like I used to back in the days. That was a lot of heavy stuff in there.
Yeah, and I want to take it back to a story that I had, and really, I DJ'd for a friend a few years ago, and his uncle, he used to actually help his uncle DJ around town. You know, he would do like backyard boogies, he'd do some clubs, he'd do restaurants, he'd do different stuff, weddings, quinceañeras. And he seen my setup, and the guy just started crying. And I was like, "Why is your uncle crying?" He goes, "Bro, he's crying because he spent so much time with records and lugging, all kinds of stuff. And I had like two power speakers and a little like, a little MIDI controller, my laptop." And he was like, "I can't believe you're rocking this party with like a laptop."
Set it up in 20 minutes.
Yeah, like not even that. My setup is really like probably like 5 minute setup. It's like laptop, plug in, MIDI controller, two power speakers, done. It's like it's and I used to help my cousin. My cousin, when I first started doing it, right in 2008, he was DJing parties, and he had like a huge coffin, and we would like lug that thing in. He had the speakers. Luckily, he had power speakers. He had power speakers. You bring the big old techniques in. I mean, it was like it was crazy. But you had to know what to play, like you said. Like you had to know your music. Like that guy really knew his music, and he bring like his crate and everything, and you had to know what they wanted. Were you going in like in stores? Were you going in like record stores often and just picking up like what the latest hits were?
No, back in the day, it was called a DJ pool. We used to go down to Melrose, and I forgot the name of the place we used to get our records. I said, mine was Ron's Records. We used to get my records out of Ron's.
Mm-hmm.
That's where our DJ pool was, me and Ray. Or else we used to go to a Cut Above. It's another place to get records. All the record places right there in Melrose. And there was a lot of stuff. Actually, Frank Del Rio owned one of the record places, and we bought records from Frank. And there was a lot of bootleg stuff going on. I don't know if you ever heard about that Michael Jackson mix. When it came out, and they played it on Power 106, and oh man, shit hit the fan when that came out. They went looking for all of the club suppliers, and then went into all those record stores, took a bunch of bootleg records. It broke a lot of records, and there was a label called Time Records. They took all those and broke them and demolished them. And Time Records is real rare. And I got a bunch of Times. They're just basically bootlegs of all the Italo stuff that came down here from Italy. That was like $25 for one record back then. That's like $200 now. Yeah. And they used to get it from up there, bring it down here, redo it, and put it on an underground label. Like Time was one of the underground labels, and sell them for $2 each.
Wow. And so with the record pool, were you like renting records, or they were just cutting like the remake?
Anything new that came from Italy or from Canada would go to the record pool, and we'd go in there and have first bites at it.
Wow. That's such a time, man. Like I really like hearing about that. And do you have any like funny stories about like the club? Well, you mentioned something about like there was a club that you did. They had like mud fighting, mud wrestling.
Yeah, that's a Tropicana. Or else you'd go to the Copa on a rainy night. The roof was all screwed up, and then all the water would get in there. And then people would hand out flyers. The flyers would wind up on the floor, and people would be slipping on cowboy boots. Everybody wore cowboy boots back in the days, and bowling shirts, and they're dancing in the water in the rain, and people would be slipping on the flyers. Oh, it's hilarious.
That's so funny. So with the mud wrestling, so you said that they'd mud wrestle for a while, and then you guys would come in with all the equipment and set up and just rock it like a club?
Well, yeah, after 9 o'clock, it was a club. It was really a mud wrestling, like a topless place.
Okay.
And at 9, it turned into a nightclub. And Frank was a DJ at night.
Dang. That must have been good times right there.
Hollywood was all good back in the 80s. We went to Geno's. We went to, where else did we go? We used to go to Circus, not on Friday nights. We used to go there Saturdays, Sundays, and Wednesdays. And it get packed, man. You talk about 500, 600 people in the club with some proper sounds. I'm talking about that place had maybe had 50 amps on the wall that bumped all the speakers in there. You could walk in, they have speakers 5 feet high, woofers that when it bottomed out, it felt like somebody hit you.
Wow.
And there was a lot of, they ran on QSC at Circus. Towards the end there, they ran on QSC. The Copa, we ran nothing but Certain Vega speakers in there and SAE amps.
Dude.
We ran SAE amps in there because my brother worked for SAE. We ran 4 amps my brother built for SAE, and we used them there. 500 watts each.
Wow. Those Sherwin Vegas, man, I love that sound. Those things knock right there. Those Sherwin Vegas, they'll like knock your pants off.
Well, yeah, they're nice for inside. For an inside venue, they're great because it's an inside speaker. Whereas if you put them outside, they don't have that long throw that JBL or EV has. JBL and EV outside, they have a long throw, real clear. But in the club, you want to hear bump and bounce and pound. The Vegas would do the job.
Yeah,
They're
that's awesome.
something else.
That's awesome. I wanted to bring up just the change in like, okay, so obviously back then, you know, records, you know, they weren't really never cheap. I mean, you could pay some pretty penny just to buy them, right? But now it's like got to the point where, you know, buying a record could be thousands of dollars, you know, and especially some of the ones that you have. I mean, what are your thoughts
Some,
about that?
well, some of those $1,000 records were 10 cents, 25 cents back in the 70s.
Yeah.
You'd find them in the quarter bin. It's just now it's just reached a state in the music times of music, and everybody wants to be a DJ, and everybody wants a certain sound. Those records that were rare are more rare now because all 10 that were, you know, pressed back then, they're all gone. They're in collections or people own them. Now people want 2-3 grand for them. And
Yeah.
my supplier guys I get records from, you know, they know I'm not shy about paying what I paid for a record because I know what it's worth. And I don't feel bad about it because I bought my records years ago and I paid, now it's nickels on the dollar because I may have paid $200 for a record then. It's $2,000 now. So my collection is worth 5 times what I paid for it.
Yeah. Does it kind of take away at all, like because I was thinking about this, like, and I've been, you know, I've been a lot of shows where some of these soul spinners play, and I hear like, you know, like let's say the soul spinner throws down a track, right, and everyone's like, oh, that's like $300, that's $1,000, that's $2,000 record. Does that take away from like from the love of the song for you, like when you hear like, oh, that guy, oh, I know that's a $2,000 record, wow, that guy's playing that? Does it take away from the song at all, or you know, or do you
No,
look at all?
I always look at the face value of a song because I know what it's worth. You know,
Mhm.
you can put anything on, and I'll tell you basically what it's worth. And it doesn't take nothing away. It actually adds to it. If the
Okay.
guy doesn't know what he has, you tell him, "Hey man, you know what you're playing there?" He goes, "Yeah, it's so and so. Yeah, it's emulations and emulate." I go, "Yeah, but you know, what'd you pay for it?" "Oh, I paid 800 for it back then. It's probably 2,000 now." I got mine from Mike, and it was a mint copy. I had a lot of silver, and I traded silver for the records, and I got silver for free. So we traded silver for records. You know,
Wow.
silver for vinyl. And it was crazy then, and I think now my records are worth more than the silver I traded for them. You know.
Wow. And
It's
then
just
you
being at the
keep
right place at the right time. See, I started collecting all this
uh,
stuff. Like I said, some of my collection I inherited, some of the collection I already had, and some of my collection I always added to it. George Miller, my friend George, he sold me a lot of records. Thursday night was the night to go down to George's. Hey man, I got this, I got that. Boom, boom, boom. What do you want for this, George? Oh, here, take it. Oh, here, I'll give you this one too. Give me $300 for all that. Okay, bye. And now one of those records, $600, just one. And I still have all the records I bought. I'm not into selling records. I may have sold maybe 10 records in the past 10 years, you know, but
wow.
I don't sell records. I just buy. I always got room for another record. Like I said, it's a habit. You can't quit. Gotta have
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And then do you see like, I mean, do you see others like, you know, spinners or maybe around? It's just like, man, you know, this guy is just trying to keep up with the times and just dropping that crazy cash. Like, what do you think about someone that's doing all that? They're just dropping thousands and
Right
just
now,
to keep up.
right now, right now, it's hard because there ain't too many $1,000 records, and there ain't too many people out there with $1,000 to pay for a record.
Yeah, and it is an addiction, right? I mean, I mean, I'm pretty sure you see it a lot. It is an addiction. Like, you just got to have that. That's I don't. What is it? Like, what do you think it is? What do you think the addiction is? Is it like when they just play that song and they hear the oohs and ahs? That's why I want that track so bad. That's why I'll pay that crazy price.
One, it could be the rarity of a record. Me, I'll buy a record if it's rare. I don't have it, and I know it's there. I'll pay what it's worth because I know later on it's gonna be worth more money. And like I said, my some of my stuff in my collection, I paid nickels on the dollar for it. And you know, people that hear, they know, hey, you know, his collection was done way back then, and all his records are double in price now. What he paid for them, And I got guys that come up to me and ask me, "Hey, man, you interested in selling that?" And I go, and I don't. I look at them in the eye, and I know what they want. They want the flip side. They want the northern. And I go, "No, I'm not interested in selling. You like the other side?" I go, they go, "Yeah, yeah, mate." So you know who those guys are. And not nothing said, man. It came from
Yeah.
your part of town. I brought it here, and I use the flip side on it.
Yeah, so you're big on the tear in your beer, the big ballad songs. That's like your style, right? That's what you enjoy the most to play.
That's right up my alley. Yeah,
What
that's what I
draws you
did.
to that type of music? What draws you to those type of songs? I mean, is it something that
I,
you
I
just
kind of I ask myself my question time and time, and I think it's having a good heart. You know, I lost brothers, I lost my mom, and all that kind of takes part in and listen to all this stuff. You know, and if you listen, a lot of people hear they hear the melody, but they really don't get the. They hear the melody, they hear the rhythm, but they really don't get the story. You know, the story. There's stories to every one of these songs. You know, and if you get into it, you get into it and you'll feel it. You know, it hits you in the right spot the way it should. And just because I played it, now everybody else wants it or they think it's this, it's that. It's really not that. You got to listen to the song. Some songs are just great. It just doesn't hit the same person the same way it would hit somebody else. You know.
Yeah, and I definitely can vouch for that because the time that I heard you play, I mean, it's just like if you're drinking, like, dude, you're gonna be crying that night. You know, if you just broke up with your girl, like you're gonna be feeling it that night. You know, watching you play. So,
Let me take your knife
but
from you. I'll have to take your knife from you guys.
yeah, but I mean, it was definitely cool, like I said, to see you play and just kind of go through that roller coaster. And you mentioned that you don't really have any sets, right? You just kind of go off the feeling, playing
I've
just
never
out the
made a set.
box.
Everybody asks me, "Hey, why you take so many records?" So I never make a set. I never make a set. I'll do my set while I'm there. You'll see me throw one record down. I'll look and I'll see what else I got in my hand. And I said, "Nah, I'm gonna play this over here." Boom, boom, go through that. Sometimes I'll slap a record on the on the wheel, and I'll say, "You know what? I don't want to hear that." I'll pick it right back off, put it down, find something else to put in there. It's just got to hit me the right way, you know.
Yeah. Now I wanted to go back to the collection there. Do you have so how many records do you think you just have like off the top?
I got a little Nexus over 120,000 records.
Wow. And then
Actual vinyl.
where do you store all these in like the bank vault?
Well, I got a vault where all my 45s are in. That's really a vault. It's a safe. I got a big 6 foot safe in the pad there where I keep all the 45s.
That's crazy. When you hear something like George Miller, like where he gets his record stolen, I mean, it's just like what?
Oh,
Like when
it
you heard
hurt
that
me.
story,
It
did you
hurt me
just like
too.
freak out?
It hurt me too because I was there 2 nights before, and he asked me to take some of the big dollar records. Hey, here, take this and record it, or take this and put it in your box. And I said, "Nah, I would, George, but I don't have a box. I didn't bring a box. I don't want to carry these big expensive records with me because I could drop it on the way, it could break, and I didn't want to be responsible." And he had one of two only known and rare records, and I said, "Nah." But I did take a couple that night that I bought personally for myself, and he goes, "You're lucky you bought that." He tells me 2 days later, they stole my record. I go, "Oh, no way." And yeah, he told me they
Wow.
stole it. It's bad.
And
And
they
I
were
was like,
about $30,000 worth of records, from what I recall.
then,
Wow. Then,
now
yeah.
it's probably priceless now. And
Wow.
I, George was sort of pretty much heartbroken, which I kind of put myself in issues. I'd be fucking devastated myself, you know? So what I did out of the goodness of my heart, I grabbed maybe, I don't know how much, but I had a lot of doubles of a lot of stuff. I gave him a nice healthy stack to keep him in the game, you know? And he was happy with it. And too bad I couldn't do more for him because I know what he lost. There was nothing I could do to replace what he lost. But at least I kept him with some vinyl in his hands, you know,
Right.
something to play. And he didn't lose the field. Thank God, you know, he didn't. You know, he's a big player in the game, and he does a lot for the soul scene. You know, he is our
Yeah.
soul supplier.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, the name makes sense for sure.
Yeah, soul supplier.
Now you were part of the Southern Soul Spinners, right? This was a big deal right here that you guys actually were traveling around, but this was like the top collectors, just like in the West Coast, right? And you were part of that, right?
Yeah, for a minute. Yeah, I did a lot in there.
What
There's
was
a lot
that
of records.
like joining what was it like joining that group?
Oh man, I'd have to leave work Friday every day early to do this thing, and I use my equipment most of the time. Um, I've spent a lot of money on records just to supply our people with the sound. There's a lot of stuff a lot of people heard the first time that I put on the platters there, and can't take nothing away from everybody else. Everybody else had their taste in it too. And I did my part, and a lot of people that were in the audience now are spinners. They all spin records. They all have nice collections of records, which is, I kind of turn them onto the game. I guess, make them a fiend too.
Yeah, I mean, so in your heart, I mean, you're playing these records. Obviously, people are like following, what you guys are doing and what you're doing. Is that humbling to you, or is that like, you're biting my style? Like,
No,
what's going on in your heart there?
actually, I like it because it opened up a bigger spectrum into the collecting of rare soul. It it opened up a broader view of what kind of music is out there that never got played on the radio. And I don't know why some of these songs never made it on the radio, but they're better than some of the stuff that's on the radio now. The music now is trash. I don't like our music now. And the music we played as a Southern Soul Spinners had a different vibe. It's like few individuals that just did, something for the soul scene that no one's ever done. They grabbed all these records that were good and play them, and people think, yeah, they are good. And now everybody's they're reproducing the same song, redoing it, or you hear it now. You hear it on somebody's cassette, or somebody's CD players, on somebody's uh, fire stick, or whatever they call little sticks, and
Yeah.
memory. Yeah, you hear them, and you go, hey man, you never hear that on the radio. You'll never hear it on the radio. We brought it out to everybody, and then you got your northern people, which did the same thing too up there. Tommy Seguro, rest in peace. He was a big player up in the game up there, and he turned out a lot of people up there to the rare soul scene.
Yeah, and I want to talk about some of these artists because I still feel like there's people out there that maybe come on to this interview or even see you come spin your records, and it's like a lot of these artists, like they were like one hit wonders, right? They're doing a lot of stuff out of the garage. They're doing stuff that maybe just recorded and just never came out, but the studio somehow someone got a copy, right? These are not records that you just easily find in Tower Records. So can you talk about maybe some of those artists and maybe how some of the records that you have are just so rare, like how you're finding them?
Some they only pressed 10 of. Some someone went out into the hills of some damn mountains and found one copy in a thrift store, and then the lady that works there says, I made that record. I have some more at home. Mike Noriega was one of the guys that went to this lady's house and bought 40 copies of a record. I'm gonna play for you when we do that on Saturday. And there was 40 copies of those records, and they sold for 20, 25 bucks. The last one I think Mike sold, I think he got 40 bucks for it, and they were gone. And Mike was smart enough to keep one copy, and that copy he sold to somebody. That somebody sold it back, and I bought it, and I have it. Ain't going nowhere now, and it's pretty rare. It's rare. It's just vicious cut. It's beautiful. Georgia actually put it on one of his compilations, that same record, and one other record that was in the same compilation, which was pretty rare, and I wanted to get that out of Mike's collection too. And like I said, that artist, who would know? You'd go to these Black Hills of wherever they got the record from. I forgot the name of the place. Um, who would know that you'd go into a thrift store, find this record, and the guy and the woman that made the records is working there, and she tells, "Hey, I got more at home," and they go
What?
buy the whole stack. You bought the whole stack.
That is crazy. Yeah, I mean,
I'm
that's
surprised
what's
I
so
didn't tell
cool
you that
about it.
story.
That's what's
I'm
so cool about it, That's what's so cool about like what you guys do. It's like I said, when I'm there, when I was listening to your set that night at Danny's house, I'm like, who cut this record? Like, who cut this? Like, what producer or what singer is this? Like, I mean, how is this not a top 40 track? How is this? I mean, this is like better than like Smokey Robinson, better than a lot of these famous people that we hear of, and it's like
Mary Wells.
like way better than that. I mean, like obviously Mary's a goddess, hey, it is what it is. But I mean, like these artists that, this music, this song, I mean, these songs are just like so much better. Maybe the quality's not there because obviously they're recording some of these, like maybe not in a professional studio, but the song is there, right? The artist is there, the vocals are there.
No, it wasn't it must have been the producer just didn't push the record in the right direction. A lot of times back then it's not what you know, it's who you knew. Hey man, here's $100, spin this record, a couple times every day, and we got more money for you later on. That's how. And then some people, some of these artists, they didn't have enough money to press 500 records, and they say press 50 of them, and that's how only 50 were ever pressed, or 10, or they only made test copies or test pressings because they never made it to the actual, the record cutter to make some, in vinyl. It never got produced as a complete record. It was sitting somewhere in like a laboratory. Records are sitting there were never finished. It's a complete record, but they just never cut no vinyl out of it, out of an acetate.
That's crazy. I wanted to talk about one thing I noticed on the Instagram is that, you play a lot of the records on a Big Bird, like record player. And I know there's like comments on there like going crazy. Like, I can't believe you're playing this record on a Big Bird record player. Are you kidding me? That's $1,000 record. You're playing on a Big Bird record player? Can you talk about that Big Bird record player and why you use that record player?
Well, Big Bird makes me a lot of money. Big Bird is actually my test player. Every pop, crack, and tick will come out of that record when I'm cleaning the record. I clean records. I do a lot of repairs on records and clean records, and that record player there shows me all the flaws because it is helpless. It has a plastic needle. It's not going to scratch a record. It's plastic. Whereas you got sapphire needles, you got needles that are made out of steel and stuff, and those will scratch a record. Whereas this thing's it's harmless. And I use it, like I said, it shows every pop, crack, and everything in a record for me to do grading. If I go buy a record, I'll use this as my test record, and just pops it on. The guy's, oh man, I thought it was cleaner than that. Give me $50, Yeah, that's my test.
And then you clean records as well too. So I mean, do you clean like friends' records only, or I mean, is this a business that you have on the side, or is it just like something that you?
I do. I'm very particular on whose records I do. Okay. Basically, this is pretty much the first time you're going to hear this from me that I do that. And there's certain individuals out there that know what I do, and privately I do their records.
Okay. I want to talk about some of the hobbies that you have. So you love fishing, right? Is that something that you enjoy doing?
Oh yeah, I just got back into fishing. I love doing that.
No, are we talking like deep sea fishing? This is not lake fishing. This is like deep sea.
Oh no, not lakes for you. Nah, not lake. I like deep sea fishing.
What's the excitement about deep sea? I mean, that just gets you pumped up.
Chasing the hunt for tuna. We've been chasing tuna a couple of weeks ago, and we went 100 miles one way, 100 miles the other way, chasing them, just trying to get them to bite. And it's fun. We drink beer, get sunburn, and talk shit, and tie knots, and try lures, and it's fun, just cruising the water.
That's awesome. And then you also have a large car collection and bike.
I wouldn't say it's large. I got a couple bikes. I ride Harleys every now and then when I got a wild hair up my rear. My partners want to go for a ride. Let's go. I got a couple bikes I'll ride. I want to go low ride. I got a couple cars I'll take out, go low ride.
Nice. So yeah, man, I just want to let everybody know. I mean, so this is really, again, just like a pre-interview. Everyone gets a chance to, kind of meet you and see, ask questions. I don't know if there's any questions out there. I see that there's some people tuned in. We got about 14 people on. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you guys have any questions that we can ask, I could ask and he could answer them if you have any quick questions. He will be live in the studio on Sunday. We're shooting for like 3:00 around that area, around that time. And just going to be doing a live set and just kind of throwing down, and we'll see what he brings in, and we'll have a party.
Sounds good. Yeah, well, I'll definitely put something in your ear,
Hell yeah. I don't see any questions coming across, but man, I really appreciate you doing this, man. I really look forward to that. I'll be putting up some flyers on that. Do you have anything that you want to add at all?
No, I just want everybody to stay, get in tune with you and listen to the show and let me know what you want to hear. And maybe
Oh yeah.
I don't do dedications. I don't do no requests, but just listen to what I got. And I'm sure you'll find a couple records in there you'll like.
Oh yeah. No, I'm super excited, man. Hey, everyone that's tuned into this, I mean, I can already just see like the excitement that people have. You know, when I put up the post, I know people were excited about it, commenting on it. We've had some good comments on today. You know, definitely I want everybody to tune in and just get you that love, man. I know you already got the love, but I'm trying to get you some more love, man, because I love what you do and I love the records that you have.
Appreciate that. I like that. And I want to do a little something for your show too. I'll bring my philosophy of soul to you. See what everybody thinks.
Hell yeah. I think we got one question here. If what would you collect next if you decided to switch it up?
I want to collect a good vacation, a good retirement. Probably in a year and a half, I'm gonna retire from work, and I don't know what I'm going to do. But the
Hell
records are
yeah.
going with me.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this up, man. I want to again thank you so much for doing this, man. And I will see you
Thank you too.
soon.
I
Thank
appreciate
everybody
it.
for tuning
I
in.
look forward to Sunday and doing that for you.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate
And
that.
for the people and for the love of soul music.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's all about the soul. All right, man. So we'll be tuning out. I'll see you guys soon, and look out for the flyers and look out for the show on Sunday. Peace.
All right, Gabe. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
everybody for listening.
Bye.